welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us locally in Bethel Park, Comcast 7, and we're also seen on Verizon 32 from Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford, the city of Pittsburgh, and all the surrounding communities. We don't know if Uniontown Fight Club could see us yet. They didn't report back to me, but they said they're only 10 miles from Nemacolin, so I'm waiting for that report. When Smoking Jim travels there, we're not going to bet on that. Thanks for all the likes on Facebook. We hit a new high today. When I left, it was 4,917. So, Jim Audet, that's the most we've ever had. I appreciate it. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and Zach Brenner, the Amish Assassin, Little Z, or whatever Dan Bogan wants to call him today. We talk sports, and we open up our opening segment with What's on Your Mind, and we're going to do that right now. Zach Brenner, what's on your mind?
Good evening, folks. Well, Al Levine, the talking machine, Chip the Prophet Hayner, and Smoking Jim Frazier. I've been a little critical of the great America's pastime, baseball. But I will lament and tell everybody at home and everybody here that I watched every single game of the World Series, every single inning, and I think it was probably some of the better baseball that I've seen all year long. I was really impressed with the Kansas City Royals, Smoking Jim Frazier. Yes, they were a baseball team in Kansas City. They played the New York Metropolitans, and they got the job done, Kansas City, after losing it last year. So I was just delighted, like I said, in the quality of baseball. What I wasn't so impressed with was the way that the coverage was of the telecast, Smoking Jim Frazier. They had Alex Rodriguez, Fox did, Alex Rodriguez during the game, giving in-game insights, and legendary Pete Rose, one of your favorite all-time baseball players.
Favorite.
Both in the stadium, you know, both known cheaters, one for gambling, one for steroid use, you know, so two of the biggest cheaters, you know. I mean, if you dug up the bones of Shoeless Joe and put him there too, then you'd have three of the all-time top five biggest cheaters ever in the stadium. So shame on Fox for allowing that to happen on their watch. You know, I can't really blame Major League Baseball. I really have to blame Rupert Murdoch and the Fox Network for that one. And my final thing is, you know, you win as a team, you lose as a team. You know, when Le'Veon Bell went down, I mean, you know, it just kind of like took the wind right off of my sails on Sunday. I wish him well and hope he gets back as fast as possible, probably next year. He's turning into Adrian Peterson's little brother, the way they're having to reconstruct his knees. Le'Veon Bell, Smoking Jim,
Yeah.
You look confused.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, he came back super fast. He's like
That's
superhuman.
True. That's true.
I just had, sorry folks, I had to fill Smoking Jim in. And then the last thing, if you watched last week's show, we talked a little bit about NASCAR, and Al Levine, you know, also offered some insight, and also thought that there was going to be some retaliation. And needless to say,
Who called it?
I thought it was going to be two different drivers, but needless to say, there was retaliation in Martinsville, Virginia. Matt Kenseth, who's not in the chase, took out Joey Logano, who is in the chase, and for no good reason. He's been parked for 2 races, which is pretty much the rest of the year. So bye-bye to Matt Kenseth, and that's what's on my mind tonight, folks. Great baseball in the World Series.
Wow, miracles never cease. You sure this isn't trick or treat? Ah, that's over. All right, thanks, Jack. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Zach.
Jack.
Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
Watch the
that's
lights.
6. You got to see Levine, my old high school option days. Here you go.
Can we verify
Was the option even in a package when you were in school?
Oh, yeah.
Was that even created yet?
Yeah. Wasn't that long ago. But
Hold it, we got to question that. Will you tell us what's on your mind? Because we know that wasn't.
what's on my mind, and my main man, me and Chip Hayner, probably bump a little heads a little bit what's on my mind. But I like to go to the high schools and give the Pittsburgh Sportsline Players of the Week. But start off with the honorable mention. First honorable mention is a guy that's near and dear to me and Al Levine's heart. We heard about him this summer. Darius Wise from Beaver ran for 272 yards and rushed for 118 yards. in one game this past weekend. Got to give it up to the Woodland Hills crew. Miles Sanders, who gets all the credit, ran for 192 yards, but the running back I like better than Miles Sanders is 235 pounds. Joel Shaw ran for 190, so they combined for nearly 400 yards rushing in one game. Got to give it up to the greatest quarterback in southwestern Pennsylvania history. He's only a sophomore, better than Dan Marino and Montana.
Whoa.
None other than Phil Dracovic from Pine Ridgeland. Passed for 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, and ran for a TD this weekend. How about P. Diddy? Anybody that follows the Garfield Gators knows Paris Ford from Seton LaSalle had 10 catches, 121 yards, and 4 touchdowns in their 44-36 victory over Keystone Oaks. And
What were you looking over here for?
Bethel
Bethel Park.
And got to give a little shout out to Pittsburgh Sportsline, one of our youngest guests of all time. Caleb Collins had 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion for Rochester. And closing in on the last 2, got to give it up to Zach Chandler. Passed for 308 yards and 4 touchdowns for Avonworth. Won the game 50-49 over Northgate. But last but not least, what he did, he broke the WPIL single season record of Bruce Grakowski, who set it in 2000 at Seton LaSalle. And the player of the week,
Finally.
the player of the week is the son of my doctor, Tommy Smith. Fox Chapel didn't win any games this year, but Tommy Smith ran for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns to win the game in his senior year for Fox Chapel. And that's the player of the week. Oh, we got to give some teams of the week. The Pittsburgh Sportsline team of the week. We're all about team. Bell Vernon beat an all-girls team. Elizabeth Forward 54-0 And the Pittsburgh.
Excuse me. What did you say?
54-0
No, what
over
did you say
Elizabeth
before
Forward.
that?
I don't know. An all-girls team.
Because that's this disclaimer, that's so disrespectful. He just told me the other day that whatever a man can do, a woman can do. Your mama, I got to talk to Dorothy about you. You couldn't have said that on air.
I thought it was. I always thought it was. Somebody can prove me wrong. I thought it was all girls team.
We're at,
But-
so I can check that out. What's the name of the team?
But Elizabeth Forward.
Okay.
Sorry, Rod.
And the Pittsburgh Sportsline team of the week has to go to the Pittsburgh Sportsline's favorite team. They knocked off the number 4 team in the nation. Great karma, because Al Levine, the talking machine, not only watched it, but he taped it on his TV. Gateway Gators 15, Franklin Regional 12, and that completes what's on my mind.
15-12. Whoa. Wow.
Jim, all I know is this is why I tell you when somebody votes for Hall of Fame for Pittsburgh Sportsline, we don't know the criteria. I listened to this, went back over the film when Smoking Jim brought it up that we were doing this, and he said player of the week. Now, if you roll the film back, as he's known to do, you'll hear him saying real quietly, players. And now we got, instead of team, we got Smoking Jim teams. So that's a disclaimer. Whatever he's saying, he's running free here.
Yep.
And my point of the show, what's on my mind, will be something you just brought up. So, Chip, what's on your mind?
Well, first I'd like to acknowledge my dear friend Zach Brenner for enjoying this year's World Series. And I, too, agree with Zach that it was really kind of tragic that Fox had to stoop to the level of allowing Pete Rose airtime on a Major League Baseball event, something as grand as the World Series, and then they had to drag that dirtball Alex Rodriguez in as well. But I guess they had to, because those two do have one thing in common: they'll never be in Cooperstown. Now, just to talk to speak to my friend Jim's highlight game of the week. 15-12. Yes, sir. The Gateway Gators beat the number 4 ranked Franklin Regional team, and unfortunately, they came up just a little short and didn't make the Wpial playoffs.
Is that again? Is that again, Chip?
So, okay, that all being said, one of the things I wanted to make bring to people's attention before I get into what's on my mind. First, congratulations are in order for Andrew Mccutchen, the winner of the 2015 Roberto Clemente Award, a very prestigious award given out every year. Some of the players that have of note, most of them Hall of Famers, one of them soon to be a Hall of Famer. Derek Jeter is a previous winner, Kirby Puckett, Cal Ripken Jr., Steve Garvey, Phil Niekro, Rod Carew, the great Willie Stargell, Brooks Robinson, and arguably the best baseball player I ever saw play as a child, Willie Mays, the inaugural winner. So a little shout out to Andrew Mccutchen. Congratulations on that. Also, another Wpial athlete is making some waves on a national stage. Somebody that Jim brought to our attention last year during the NCAA basketball tournament, playing for the Arizona Wildcats. TJ McConnell has made it onto an NBA roster. Right. He made it on the Philadelphia 76ers. And he's on the 12-man roster. Actually got to play in a game last night and did something that has only been done less than a handful of times in NBA history. As a rookie, he played against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the great LeBron James. His statistics kind of go like this. He was 3 of 4 from the field. Not bad shooting percentage. Had 12 assists and absolutely 0 turnovers. Wow. And he had a couple of steals in the game. And one of them was in midcourt, LeBron James got the ball. And generally when LeBron gets the ball in open court, people just get out of his way. Well, this young man, he's a rookie, doesn't know any better. Picks him clean, passes the ball down the floor for an easy layup. So he picked up another assist. So TJ McConnell, keep it going. He's the first WPIAL player to make it into the NBA.
No. Is he?
Yes, he is.
Wow. Congratulations. Yes, my dad's smiling down from heaven.
Yeah.
Because that's some of his best friends there. And he remembers, he told me that TJ's so small, but you should see him shoot. His dad made him shoot 100 shots every day.
I'll tell you what, this kid is going to get a lot more playing time. And I think he's in the big time for a while. Because he's got the ball skills, and he had a great coach there at Arizona. Yeah. Sean Miller, a good person to learn from.
Didn't he suffer a horrific injury in high school to kind of set him back a little bit?
No injury.
Yeah, he was too small. He was skinny. Those were his injuries.
But you know
they
what?
said, when is he going to grow up? He just signed a deal with Duquesne.
He was small, he was skinny, but he can ball.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
But now, what's on my mind this week? Accountability is what's on my mind this week. And some of you may look at me quizzically, like my friend Jim is here, like Alan is. Zach's over there scratching his head. But accountability is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I try to hold my employees accountable for the things that they're responsible for. Well, finally, in all of these professional sport venues, and I guess you could include college football as a professional sport, because who are we kidding? It's a billion-dollar industry. Well, the ACC finally got something right. Wow. If anybody saw any highlights from any of the college games this weekend, I'm sure everybody watched the Duke-Miami finish to that game, where Miami 8 laterals, and they win the game with no time on the clock, and they go to the replay, and clearly the kid's knee was down when he lateraled. There was blocks in the back. There was penalty flags thrown and picked up. The referees completely botched it. Duke lost to the Miami Hurricanes, and this is a loss that they can't reverse. And it could affect the Duke, because Duke was in the running for an ACC championship, which could definitely hurt their chances. So the ACC took the initiative to suspend the entire officiating crew for the next 2 conference games and the replay referees for the next 2 conference games. So now referees, when they blow calls, are being held accountable for their actions. I think every sporting league in the country should pay attention to this and should follow suit. Maybe we might get better officiating. That's what's on my mind.
Great points. Well, I actually have a couple topics for Zach and Smoking Jim. The first for Zach is, that's what made NASCAR so popular, when you get even with somebody. It's like in the old days of baseball. When a pitcher threw at somebody, one of the star players would get hit, or guess what? That pitcher, when he batted up, never got in the batter's box that close because he knew he was getting hit. And the same thing, when I saw that, I posted that up so quickly after it come up on NASCAR. I said, this is what we're talking about, so I can't wait to see Junior in action next year. So something will happen. Then, I can't believe it. I was home Friday night, flicking through the channels, and I go, this can't even be possible. Gateway and Franklin Regional. And I text him right away, I don't hear anything for 2 hours. I'm watching it, and I didn't waste my DVR on it, I'll tell you that much. Not that there weren't some good players. And this number 14, I forget his name now, but I told Smokin' Jim. In the second quarter, he took over a series. He's a 6'5", 210, 12-pound guy, linebacker. He was throwing those Gateway kids around like they were little rag dolls. Matter of fact, on 5 plays in a row, how could you even get through the line when they saw him charging in? They said, there he is. 3 guys converged a block on him. He did a swim move, got right in on the quarterback. He was knocking people around, and it was such an exciting game. At halftime, it was 3-0. And I lost my train of thought because I thought, is this the legendary Gateway, whatever they are? And then I go, no. And then as they're panning the stands, I didn't see my brother from another mother going, Gateway, Gators.
He was up there with the coach.
They even went up near the press box.
He was up there with Coach Marino.
Wait, he lives in the press box. He's told every one of us that. He lives up there. They were up getting a little shot of that. I said, you know what? He must have fell down, so why should I watch the game?
He was probably getting a free meal they were giving out.
Yeah. And then
everyone else gets a box lunch.
And after the halftime, I looked because maybe I figured you might see some movement up there because they did show the fans or the lack of fans, and for Gateway. But congratulations on your win. And it was a hollow victory.
Alan, you know what, Alan? I watched the Aliquippa Beaver Falls.
Me too. That's
game,
what I went to.
And that was a much more exciting game. Aliquippa and I.
I was telling somebody I turned to that game and I forgot what I was watching before. It was so exciting. These players, you could see some of these guys will be in major colleges.
You may have been watching one of the state champions right there.
Well, exactly. So you know what I mean, Chip, since you saw it. Smokin' Jim, I still can't figure out what you're talking about there. But I appreciate your energy and your loyalty to your alumni.
Second to none.
Yeah.
Second to none.
And I do have people looking at that Buffalo Wild Wings to see if your jersey's up there yet. No number 22. I mean, I just had somebody, they told me, they were at Buffalo Wild Wings. I said, did you see a Gateway number 22? And they said 34 or something was the number.
They got a little wing sauce on it.
It was encased in glass because I saw it.
It's
what was Dwayne? What was Dwayne didn't play for Gateway. That's right. He was Penn Hills. Yeah, you actually mentioned that.
Yeah,
so.
somewhere else.
All right, enough of what's on our mind. We're going to start our segments. I can't wait to hear Smokin' Jim Frazier. Let's hear Smokin' Jim's fiction and fact from his almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And I tell you what, I've been inspired for this fiction and fact from Smokin' Jim's almanac. Got to go to Beth Center. Give a shout out to Beth Center's running back Anthony Walsh, who ran for 353 yards. He has 4,857 yards in his career, and after next week's game, he'll join the 5,000-yard club. And that brought me back to think about the Beth Center head coach, which is Eddie Woods, who I played college football with. And Eddie Woods was the fastest white running back I ever seen. And we talk all the time about, and Eddie Woods was built, especially from the waist up, he was built like Herschel Walker or Bo Jackson, upper body strength. He never lifted on his legs because he was so fast. He always was afraid it would take away his speed a little bit. And I talk often on this show about reverse discrimination, how I believe that the NFL and college football has discriminated against the white cornerbacks. And Eddie Woods discovered some of that discrimination when he was in college. Great running back, always set the bench, always made all the tackles on the kickoff coverage team. Probably could have been an All-American kickoff return guy, but that was my job. So he didn't do that. But he never got the chance to play running back, played behind the black kid, and they kept moving him to fullback from tailback. Finally, one game he got in because the starting running back got hurt, and he still holds the Cal University record. 4 carries, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the very next week he went back to the bench. Shout out to my main man, one of the greatest running backs ever seen, Eddie Woods, head coach of Beth Center High School. Good luck in the playoffs.
Thanks,
That's
Smoking
always
Jim.
an easy victory, Best Center.
So you're the Dre Archer of your team? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's just one of those. I return punts and kickoffs.
What kind of team is that, Alvin? Just imagine that. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm trying to visualize it.
I was probably
born to be on the line.
I was probably a part of that reverse discrimination because he definitely didn't get a fair shot at the kickoff return job. But
How long were you injured? That's what I want to know.
But the starting halfback ended up getting hurt one game, and Eddie Woods on the road. 4 carries, 260 yards, and 3 long touchdowns. Should have been really 4. Somebody tripped him up around the ankles. But fast, upper body strength, unbelievable. Matter of fact, last year he almost died. He was the coach that fell off his roof when he was doing some work. But, tough as he was right back in there coaching again. So.
Just like you, buddy.
But if he'd have called me,
BC.
If he'd have called me, I'd have helped him with his roof. I'd have held the ladder. I'd have held the ladder for you, Eddie.
Yeah, right.
But one quick story about Eddie. I like to say.
Share it, please.
Beth Center is a real tough, good old boy town, and Eddie had a souped-up car, an old one of those race cars looking, man. He always had a nice souped-up car, always had a beautiful girl from his whole hometown, and how he used to pick his women, the girls that would hold his spittoon for him, brother, and he played all the time.
I'm so glad, gentlemen, we waited for that story.
He played all the time. He's the only guy I know that played with a snuff in his mouth. He would play every time you see him, even in games and practice. He'd have snuff in his mouth. So
back in those days, I knew a few guys that
Yep,
did.
And we're not condoning the use of tobacco.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
Just as long as we don't do it.
Smoking Jim.
But he says a good woman is a woman that'll hold your spittoon for
When
you.
was the last time Smoking Jim Frazier was in Best Center? The only reason why he knows where Best Center is because he knows it's a little bit further than Cal U. He's never set foot in Best Center.
Somebody told him he was there, that's all. He doesn't.
3 sources.
All right, let's get a little trivia time from Chip.
Oh, this just coming across the wires here. Tonight, the top 4 teams in college football for the college football playoff system were announced.
Wow.
Number 1 is Clemson. Number 2, LSU. The number 1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes are ranked number 3, and Alabama's ranked number 4. So that's where they stand as this week.
Wow.
That's going to change from week to week because some of the best college football is yet to come. But so to touch on some trivia this week, and Jim and I were comparing notes before the show regarding the WPIAL because this weekend Wpial playoffs start. Some great matchups. We're going to probably talk a little bit about that, but some other things that Jim did not touch on with his trivia for the Wpial was Phil Jerkovic. Phil, such an amazing athlete. Phil needs only 36 yards passing in Pine Richland's first-round playoff game Friday to become the 3rd player in Wpial history to pass for 2,000 yards and rush for 1,000 in a season. including the playoffs. The other two were Stowe Rock's Lenny Williams in 2012 and Jim's favorite player, no other than Terrell Pryor in 2007. And he can't find a job in the NFL for his life.
Smoking.
Okay, with the end of the regular season last week, prior to the playoffs, a couple of things of note. Al Wpial finished the regular season with a perfect record for the 6th consecutive year, which ties Braddock from 1954 to 1959 for the longest streak in WPIAL history. Al Wpial also has 17 perfect seasons overall, which is number 1 all time. Second is Jeanette. South Fayette became only the 4th team in WPIAL history to have 4 consecutive perfect regular seasons. And, I bring that up because my money's on these two meeting each other at Heinz Field for the championship, just like they did the last 2 years. South Fayette beat Al Wpial the last 2 years. Maybe Al Wpial's chance to return the favor this year. So we shall see what happens. Okay, so this date in sports, couple of things of note here. Willie Mays severed all ties to Major League Baseball after signing a contract with the Bally Corporation, which was involved with legalized gambling in Atlantic City, New Jersey. He was forced to do this back in 1979 on October the 29th.
I remember that.
Tom
People
Seaver
were heartbroken.
on October 31st. See, the rules apply to everybody, including Pete Rose. See, even if you're Willie Mays, the rules apply to you. But see, Willie Mays did it the right way. He walked away from baseball. He didn't hide it. He didn't lie to everybody about it. Subsequently, he's in the Hall of Fame.
What rule was that? What did he? Where did he go?
He was a greeter at a casino.
He was a greeter at a casino. And because
okay.
that is associated with gambling, baseball doesn't want anybody that's
Was he
associated.
stumbling like he was stumbling in the outfield when he did?
No.
He didn't stumble in the outfield. You must not be watching
It's
too many
last year.
replays.
It's last year.
You're not a good man, Smoking
And
Jim.
what
Dorothy,
team- and what team
if
did
you're
he play
watching
for?
this, he's not a good man, little
What team
Jimmy.
did he play for this last year, Jim? That's what I thought. In 1973, Tom Seaver of the New York Mets became the first pitcher
Jimmy.
to win the National League Cy Young Award with less than 20 wins. Seaver went 19-10 with a 2.08 ERA.
Wow.
Now, another little trivia for college football here. The throwing Samoan, Marquise Tuiasosopo, becomes the first player to pass for 300 yards and run for 200 in a game, racking up a school record 509 yards versus Washington. This was back on October 30th, 1999. And, Zach brought up the World Series, and just finish up the year with some World Series trivia. The World Series MVP award, it was initiated in 1955. And since that award has been issued, there's been 3 players that have won the award twice. One of them would be one of Alan's favorite pitchers of his childhood, Sandy Koufax. Bob Gibson, they say one of the meanest men ever to stand on a pitcher's mound. And, of course, Mr. October, Reggie Jackson.
No Pete Rose?
No.
He had a lot of singles.
Jim, just to clear something up, on the Big Red Machine, which Pete Rose was known for being a member of, he wasn't even the best player on that team.
Chip, this sounds like a replay you did. I can't remember how many weeks ago, but you told him that.
Yeah.
He's forgetful.
Yeah, okay. So now
Hit more singles.
Now, something happened in Game 3 of the World Series this year that has never happened in the history of Major League Baseball.
Oh, yeah.
A player made his Major League debut in a World Series game. Raul Mondesi Jr. for the Kansas City Royals played in his very first Major League Baseball game in Game 3 of the World Series.
Really?
Never happened before.
Why would it?
And now, 5 times in Major League history, in the World Series, players have hit 3 home runs in a game. Now, 5 times it's happened, and and only 4 players have done it. Reggie Jackson did it back in 1977. Albert Pujols did it. Pablo Sandoval did it for the San Francisco Giants. And Alan's favorite, Babe Ruth, has done it twice.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the dead ball area. No.
That's in the dead ball area. Now, there have been 4 complete Game 1 hitters. We know that there's only been 1 perfect game pitched in World Series history. Jim, you remember that, right? 1956?
I heard about that.
When did you hear about it on the show?
Just now.
Oh, he's talked about this before.
So 4 complete one hitters in World Series history, and the last time that was done was in 1967 by Jim Longborn of the Boston Red Sox. So it's an event that doesn't happen very often. So now I'm going to get into some football because there's, if you're paying attention to pro football this weekend, yes, there were some pretty heinous injuries, and unfortunately, Le'Veon Bell out for the season. Whether that was done intentionally or not, it seems to be a point of contention. But we'll see Cincinnati and the Queen City here in about a month, and that should prove to be interesting. But there was a game Sunday night. They're the most touchdown passes that were ever thrown in a National Football League game. Fortunately, the person I was playing against had started Drew Brees, but he threw 7 touchdown passes in the game.
Wow.
Okay? And
500 something.
Eli Manning threw 6 touchdown passes in the game and lost. And the final score of that game was 52-49. So that was 101 points scored combined. And, if you bet the under on that one, sorry, Charlie. So that got me digging as to what was the most points ever scored in a National League football game. Happened back in 1966. 113 points were scored. Washington 72, the New York Giants 41.
Wow.
The next highest total there, 2004, Cincinnati beat Cleveland 58-48. In 1963, the Oakland Raiders beat the Houston Oilers 52-49. So quite the event there. And that got me wondering, how many times have people thrown 7 touchdown passes in a game? Yeah. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks have thrown 7 quarterbacks in a game.
Wow.
Sid Luckman did it first in 1943. Adrian Buck in 1954. Youngwood's own George Blanda did it in 1961.
Yes, sir.
1962, Y.A. Tittle did it. 1969, Joe Kapp of the Minnesota Vikings. 2013, Peyton Manning did it. And Nick Foles as well
I remember that.
Which got him traded to the lowly St. Louis Rams. Go ahead and figure that one out. And then Drew Brees accomplished that feat this past weekend. So there you go. It's a smorgasbord. And one last thing. Congratulations to Ben Roethlisberger. Ben started this weekend coming back off of an injury, and he didn't play one of his best games, but he became the 16th player in NFL history to throw for 40,000 yards. He accomplished that this week. I'm sure he's going to add on to that total.
That'll get you in the Hall of Fame.
Yep, and I think what's going to happen with him over the next 3 or 4 years will kind of solidify that. But that brings me up to one last thing, and this date, November 2nd. In 2014, this was a game I was present at. Ben Roethlisberger threw for 6 touchdowns against the Baltimore Ravens. And there's nothing more satisfying than watching the Steelers put it on the Ravens. So that's my trivia for you guys this week.
Thanks, Chip. I appreciate it.
Great research.
All right, some Z time from Zach Brenner.
Anytime a Still Valley guy goes into the NFL smoking gym, it's to be rejoiced. Something that Gateway doesn't know very much about at very many levels. I feel bad, with the exception for the situation that Coach Tamsula is in out in San Francisco with the exit of Harbaugh and a lot of players that have either retired, gotten hurt, and left. I mean, Reggie Bush was running on the sidelines and slipped and blew out his knee. He's out for this season. So, I mean, things have gone from bad to worse. But what gets even worse, Smoking Jim, is Colin Kaepernick has now been benched in favor of Blaine Gabbert. So things are falling apart fast out west. And if we see anything from the coaching carousel in the NFL, Ken Wisenhunt got canned real fast. 3-23. That's not going to cut it in the National Football League. One key point of emphasis to continue to watch, folks, is the poor clock management of our very own coach Mike Tomlin. He continues to just show lack of game and situational awareness that I think is going to continue to hurt us as we go down the road. As Chip alluded to, yes, Ben wasn't as sharp as he should have been, but I just continue to scratch my head at some of the play calling that Haley continues to dial up and call. You have some of the best and most talented wide receivers in the National Football League. Why you, when a guy just came back, continue to try to air raid, the ball down the field? I mean, I understand, we have the capabilities, but you got to design the schemes for the players that you have. And when Ben Roethlisberger isn't fully 100%, and you know that ahead of time, and then we lost Le'Veon Bell, so things haven't been great. Hopefully the mojo doesn't go over to console and hit the Penguins with the injury bug. They've been getting crushed with the last couple years, but the Pirates had some key injuries down the stretch that didn't help them advance. The Steelers have some tough injuries right now, so you see what character and things are made of through adversity. So you're going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers put to the test here coming up if they really want to salvage their season. I don't see the prospects of 10-6 now. I can see it just slipping away day by day. Not being great, and 8-8 might be the phrase that pays moving forward, but that's still with the weak AFC. They still have a chance to get a wild card. So I look for Pittsburgh to get a wild card, but like I said, something has to be done with Mike Tomlin. You have this kind of money. You could bring in people smoking Jim Frazier. There's guys for this that could sit there and do this and talking to the headset to you. If you don't want to do that or pay attention or delegate, like I said, at some point it's really going to crush us, and it's a shame that Mike Tomlin just is so set and so stubborn that he doesn't want to recognize when you just might need to tweak or do something little right here. So that's all for Z Time tonight, folks. It's hard to be a coach in the National Football League, let alone play.
Thanks, Zach.
Good point.
Before I do On Location, I want to first thank our sponsor, Olive Oil's Pizzeria. Josh, that pizza was delicious. Outstanding again. Thank you very much. He jumped in for my man Ryan and has been making our pizza. That sausage and pepperoni smoking Jim, that's 5 weeks in a row, even though you missed 2 of them that you didn't know about. It's still the same. It's great. Call them up, 412-831-1900. If you haven't got out the vote, my public announcement, you only got 20 minutes. Get out there and do that. Now, I have a very sad thing that I want to bring up. A friend of mine from my days at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, he's also a great athlete. Don Yost contacted me and said he had a horrific thing happen to a 6-year-old girl that he knew got killed by a drunk driver.
Yes.
And there's a
underage young driver.
Well, yeah,
Right.
and the story's really horrific.
Yeah, it's a twisted story.
And they're having this fundraiser on the 14th, and I said I'd put it out there for Donnie and all the people. It's at Big Mike's, and it's for the Campbell family. They're going to have Chinese auctions, raffle, 50-50, Penguins tickets, and many other prizes. And they're also going to have, because they don't want any accidents and you can drink there, so they have designated drivers. So you can go there, have a great time. If you feel the need to drink, you don't have to drive.
Quick question, where's Big Mike's located at?
He didn't give me the address because that's what I wanted to find out when he handed. Big Mike's Tavern, so I'm going to have to find that out. But if you want to call,
Butler Street, is that it?
I think it is, but it could be. No, that might be where.
Butler Street, okay.
Oh, is that
It's
where it
down
is?
over in
In
Etna,
Etna.
on
Yeah, I
Butler
was going to say it's in Etna, not on Butler Street where we think. But yeah, you could call this number. It's Christie, 412-965-3756. And it's just a terrible tragedy any time of year, let alone around now, to bury somebody that young. So our prayers go out to the family and everybody. Check that out. I appreciate it. On Location, I don't know how Smoking Jim does it at the Meadows. They think he's a horse owner. He walks around there. He got so many friends, and now he has new sweeties all the time coming up. We love him. And I'm trying to teach him the ropes on horses. What's the lesson I gave you on Saturday about who can
Whatever
race?
a woman can do, a man can do better.
No, you just blew that out of the water because now you just said a girls' team for a boys' football team. I can't trust you anymore. I told him about in a horse race, there's pacers and there's trotters.
Yes, sir.
And what happens with them?
They can't run in the same heat.
Okay, thanks. They can't pace or trot in the same race. They're not thoroughbreds. So he found that out. So his lessons are continuing. The Meadow Standardbred Owners Association, thank you for inviting us again. They want us to come back. We don't know. It's starting to get cold. We got a lucky, nice sunny day, so we did outdoor interviews and met some great people. Now, Smoking Jim talks about women, and I interviewed 5 of the great lady drivers that were in the race. And one of them, Tabby, she come in second, and she told me if the track was a little longer, she would have won the race because she was coming up on the outside like I tried to beat Smoking Jim in the match race. So we had a lot of great fun, and these ladies are serious. There's another lady, Mary, who won it last year. I don't know what place she finished this year, but there's so much competition, and what they did is whatever the Meadows makes and whatever percentage that the Horsemen's Association gets, they donated it to charity. I didn't get the numbers, but that's thousands of dollars. I'll have to find out. So imagine that, the track's giving up to try to save, breast cancer and find a cure. And ladies, congratulations. They said they'll be back next year. And Heather Wilder told us we'll be back too. So see you then. Stay tuned with that. This week we'll be at the Park House on North Side, 403 East Ohio Street. Come check it out. We had a great show 2 weeks ago. We'll be back there again, 7:30 to 8:30. And that's our own location. And I want to delve right into the Steelers because I can't wait any longer. Cowher was a poor manager of clocks. Now, people that tell me that, they say he was just emotional. Okay, but he made those gut feelings and they weren't always the right call. Sometimes the players took care of it. In our case, we have an offensive coordinator who has been good at times, but now when you threw so many variations at him, your star running back, your star quarterback doesn't have the mobility.
Your starting center.
Starting
guard.
Tackle. Should we go to tackle and all that? But they were still competitive. Here's what Big Ben, Zach talks about it, Jim talks about it, Chip talks about it. If you have Big Ben and you give him half a chance, I don't care that Tomlin blew 30 seconds at time before the 2-minute drill, warning. Because most people, it's not even in the book. You can't make up 28 seconds when it's gone. I mean, here, I got a smartphone, 7:41. I'm just going to wait, not say anything.
I find that hard to believe.
I just did that for 30 seconds. I did it for 30 seconds. I can't get that time back, Jim.
That's right. That's right. Muscle.
I know. Hold it. Wait. Where's the Tic Tac? But my point of it is, we can have fun with our, doing this on our show. But this is the NFL. These wins are so precious.
And here's the thing. And if I was able to listen to some of Tomlin's press conference today, and he stands behind his decision, and he gave his logic, and after the game he gave a very in-depth explanation as to why he did it. And the only person that seems to agree with his point of view is him, but ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the only person that has to agree with it because he's the head coach, and all we can do is, agree or disagree with him. But those 38 seconds aren't what lost us the game. The offense couldn't score. I mean, basically what the problem was. I knew going into the fourth quarter, being ahead 10-6.
Sketchy at best.
It was sketchy at best. Then we had 2 back-to-back turnovers, and we couldn't complete a first down after each of those. And I knew that, if you keep giving a team as good as Cincinnati opportunities, something's got to give. This is the NFL. You can't cover everybody every minute of every game. And subsequently, it came back and bit us. I mean, the defense played played very, very well for most of the game. At the end, Cincinnati made the plays and we didn't. You can point your fingers around wherever you want, but I mean that's what it boils down to. So,
well, here, if you want to point fingers, a couple of the veteran players are getting 15-yard penalties. Now, that shouldn't happen. That shows me that you can have a player's coach. Cowher was that. But didn't he yell at some of the guys that weren't his favorites or they got benched? When you got 15-yard penalties, that'll suck the life right out of you.
But here's, I think, what part of the problem with that is you got Mike Mitchell out there that's acting a fool.
And he has been playing well, though.
He's been playing well, but, we've got no depth. You don't have anybody that you can say, all right, you know what, you go sit on the bench because, I need to teach you a lesson because, we just don't have any depth, especially in the secondary.
I was kind of optimistic before the 4 p.m. trade deadline in the NFL that potentially the Steelers were going to go out to San Diego and pick up Eric Whittle, the safety. That would have been a nice deal that would have solidified a bunch of stuff. It goes back to the scouting and the poor drafting. Shamarko Thomas, is it panning out? A lot of these draft picks aren't panning out. And when you put such a high emphasis on the draft and then that's how you build your organization and you don't really utilize free agency that often, this is kind of the situation that you get into where now if every draft pick doesn't pan out, you can't afford to have a first or a second round pick that's a bust.
Well, and more importantly, getting somebody like Eric Weddle, it would be easy if, like as in baseball, you could just trade somebody. In football, there's implications of how that salary affects your cap.
Exactly.
Your cap space. So you know what? The Steelers may wanted to make a trade.
Got plenty of people, plenty of dead wood they can cut.
But if you listen
they're
to them,
paying a lot of injured reserve guys and guaranteed contracts. You can't cut that. That's a violation. But they're still rebuilding, and this gets back to my point from 4 years ago. They won the division last year and should have even won one more game and maybe even been in the Super Bowl because of one of the easiest schedules in football history. This year, this was one of the toughest, even though teams did change. Next week, or this week coming up, you have Oakland, who's beaten us 4 out of the last 5 games, but they're a better team this year.
Oakland has scored
that's a problem.
Oakland has scored over 70 points in the last 2 weeks, and Derek Carr has been lighting up secondaries. Now, you look at the way the Steelers are right now, 4-4, okay? They're a mediocre football team. And what are the prospects for them to do something other than finish the season 4-4? It looks a little bleak, but you know what? They're going to play the game, so we'll see what happens. But if you look at our 4-4 record, I look at 2 home games specifically. The Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals, those are 2 games that we should have won, okay? We realistically, we could be sitting at 6-2 and in the driver's seat right now and be
at least for the wild card.
and be a threat to even possibly win the division or tie for the division.
And there was a couple of games we could have lost too. So
no, and you got a point there, Jim. But I mean, the Baltimore game, our kicker couldn't.
Did he swallow his tongue?
I don't know. When I watch that championship chase, man, he's such a soft, well-spoken, well-mannered yes man.
No, he isn't.
That's what Liz Up and Duns.
He gives that Johnny Wino. I'm surprised that made the cut. Johnny Wino.
I am too. Yeah.
And then now you're just called smoking.
Oh, Johnny Wino.
How'd you lose Jim? Smoking.
Johnny Wino may be starting this weekend for the Cleveland Browns.
I can't wait to hear championship chase when they ask him about that one.
So the Browns will go from 2-6 to 2-7.
I wait for the day Smoking Jim wears his Sportsline hat on championship chase.
He's not allowed. It's not like our show, Zach. We're public access TV. We're a little different.
But now that we're on football, just to kind of real briefly touch on what's going on with the WPIAL playoffs. High school football is so big, and I'll just give a quick rundown of the 4 major conferences and the favorites in each. You've got the Quad A, which the Quad A was one of the strongest in history this year. But you got the top 4 seeds of Woodland Hills, Penn Trafford, both at 9-0, Pine Richland at 8-1, and North Allegheny at 8-1, and they're looking to see maybe Central Catholic come pulling it out of there. But there's a number of teams that are good enough to win it all. You go to AAA, Central Valley, is ranked number 1, and that's odd that a team that's 8-1 is ranked number 1 ahead of an undefeated team. Bell Vernon is 9-0. They're second, ranked second. West Allegheny 7-2 is third, and Mars is fourth at 8-1. So it sounds pretty screwy the way everything's set up. And actually, they're looking. They say to look out for the West Allegheny football team. They do have a championship caliber team, although they do have 2 losses. So it'll be interesting to see what the AA or the AAA class does. Then you go down to the AA, and the AA is just it's strong as always. You've got your 2 top favorites, South Fayette and Aliquippa, both undefeated. Washington High School is 9-0. They were ranked third. And Beaver Falls, who lost last week to Aliquippa, 8-1 is fourth. And everybody seems to feel that it's going to be Aliquippa and South Fayette in the championship game. And even though South Fayette beat them twice the last 2 years, I think it may be Aliquippa's turn to take it on. And yes, I do have to give a shout out to Steel Valley. They made the playoffs this year. But I'm telling you what, Zach, and we tease one another about our favorites and everything. There are some really strong teams in AA. Steel Valley's got its work cut out because after its first round matchup, they win on Friday. They got to play Beaver Falls, and Beaver Falls is no slouch. Then you get down to the single A, and Clairton once again is undefeated, 9-0. Cardinal World North Catholic is ranked second, 9-0. Jeanette 8-1, and the high school named after my dear friend Smoking Jim here, Fraser.
Yes.
7-2 was ranked number 4th, and
they're undefeated. Fraser's undefeated.
7-2.
Fraser's undefeated.
Since you've been watching,
that's a typo. They're 9-0.
Since you've been watching,
yeah, Fraser's undefeated. That's a typo.
Okay, you got that correct. Fraser is undefeated. I stand corrected, Jim.
Whoa.
Whoa!
I stand
Smoking
corrected.
Jim Fraser.
So what the outlook is that Clairton once again will win the single A, but you know what? We can predict all we want. There's a reason why they play the games, and tune in Friday night lights for the next few weekends. It's going to be worth watching.
Year to Fraser.
Hold it, no Gateway on Friday?
Nope. If you paid attention earlier.
No.
Nope.
I was pulling a Smoking Jim.
Yep.
Wait,
I just
pulled a
reiterating.
Smoking Jim on the air. Oh, really?
Yep. Reinforcement.
Really?
Yep.
And you know why that's going to be?
No Gateway.
Jim, take the cat out of the bag. You don't have a Gateway grad as the coach. You got somebody that moved up to Gateway from Clairton.
Yeah.
So Coach Nola hasn't been able to work his magic that he worked down in Clairton up here at the Gateway, but that's what happens when you're up on top of the hill.
Doesn't have the horses. Doesn't have the talent. There's no T. Boyds in Gateway.
Now it's about the talent. That always means something. It's hard to do that smoke and mirrors except with Fraser. I got to find out those players.
But I will tell you this, the Wpial playoffs, a lot of the first round games are played at home fields.
I think Bethel's playing Kiski here.
Yeah, but when you get into the second and third rounds, they usually have the games at neutral sites. And I usually go to my old alma mater. I go up to Baldwin High School to watch
like a college
couple
campus.
of the Quad A games. Hey, you know what? It's a nice stadium, and generally it's within walking distance of my house. So
You're in Brentwood now.
I'm in Brentwood, still just a
Okay.
hop and a skip, Al.
Just checking.
I'm not afraid.
You're
to wear
not
out a
paying
little
for
shoe
parking. You're not paying for
leather.
parking in
You know
Baldwin
what?
now.
You know what? I can wear out a little shoe leather.
We know you can. All right, we got 5 minutes to go. What do you guys want to bring up? Because we're short on time.
Okay, real briefly, the Pirates lost a key member of their team last week, somebody that doesn't show up on the 40-man roster. Jim Benedict signed with the Miami Marlins. And you say, who? And that's what I expected you to say, Jim. Jim Benedict and Ray Searage are the architects of the Pirates pitching staff over the last 3 or 4 years. Ray Searage is the pitching coach. Jim Benedict was an integral part of that. So, what happens when you've got an organization that's successful, other teams come by and they start picking off your executives. Now, they've got his replacement has been in the wings and waiting, and we'll see what happens. But even though it doesn't make a lot of a big splash. that man right there had everything as much to do with turning around our pitching staff as Ray Searage.
The Pirates couldn't be so lucky to unload their third base coach to a manager's position.
Not yet.
That guy would wave on a runner in oncoming traffic.
Not yet. Not yet.
And it's funny that Zach brings that up, but
It wasn't really that funny.
If you watch the World Series, one of the things that you noticed the Kansas City Royals doing that the Pirates had difficulty with this year was running the bases. Now, the Pirates have said, and they have become more aggressive at running the bases, but they're not being smart when they're running the bases, and there's too many mistakes made. If you want to look at quality, aggressive base running in Major League Baseball, watch what the Kansas City Royals did over this World Series. Because of their aggressiveness and their heads-up play, that's the reason why the Royals are world champions.
You can rattle a team.
It wasn't just, but I mean, their pitching, is what really impressed me. Kansas City, especially like their middle relievers.
Did you learn a lesson about good pitching beating good hitting every time? That's the main lesson of that series.
And Zach, to speak to your point, I felt that going into the series that actually the New York Mets had a stronger starting pitching staff. They had nothing in the back end of their bullpen. Kansas City had adequate pitching as starters, but where Kansas City's strong point was is in the innings that win or lose you games, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. The Kansas City's bullpen was as good as the Pirates, and that's what got them to the World Series last year. Because last year, when they made the World Series and lost in 7 games, they went into the 6th inning with a lead, and they come out of it with a win because of their bullpen.
What?
So it's not the starting pitching that won the World Series for them. It was their bullpen.
Well, I think it was a combination also. I mean, Cueto pitched absolutely superb. Volquez, pitched way above what people came to expect from him. And like I said, that catcher Perez for Kansas City, the MVP, he was worthy.
He earned it the old-fashioned way. He worked hard.
Eric Hosmer had a monster playoff run. There's just a number of different things,
I'm just glad it's over.
Why?
Yeah, well, because Jim brought that up because he knows that Saturday starts the free agent signing period. So this is another exciting part of the baseball season. So see, as you can see, my dear friend Jim, baseball season never ends.
It's what though. There's a silver lining though. It takes 160 plus games to get to 5 great games, where it's like do or die.
Hold it. They were all the 5 best games you saw all year. I saw a lot of great games all season.
It didn't matter, though. They weren't for the World Series.
They all matter because that's how you get there. This concept, it blows my mind because there's a lot of smart people out there. They'll say, these games at the end are more important. Well, if I win early, I don't have to worry about late wins.
Okay, why did the Pirates not win the division this year? Because of games they lost in April. That's the reason.
But that's a misconception that'll still be out there because you got a lot of games. Okay, these are more important. They're all the same. One win is one win.
I'm not disputing that, but what I'm saying is, when you're just sitting on the edge of your chair, it's do or die. This is for the championship, the World Championship. Every hit, every out, every foul ball. I watched every pitch. I watched Pintar on the catcher's side.
That's why I posted it up so people look at that.
Every baseball game.
Well,
that's just me.
Thanks for the great discussion, guys. Zach Brenner, Smoking Jim Frazier with. Now you found out we don't know about women's teams. Chip the Prophet Hayner. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Devin Shea on camera doing a great job. Thanks, Dave Cable, for the new lights. Thanks, Bethel Park. And please stay Joey strong.